welcome to our live webinar for today, BIMQ for Beginners. Today we want to look at the topics of the data management in detail. That means how can we manage our exchange information requirements for more efficiently, how we can create checking rules, and how we can create templates for different software systems like Rabbit or Archicad. For this, we will use our data management software BIMQ, which we take a closer look at today. But first, let's look to our agenda. And first, I will give you a short introduction of myself and of the company which I'm employed. Next, we will look at the data management in theory. How is the data often still managed in many BIM projects today? And how can the data management be improved? And how can we make processes more efficient with BIMQ? We will not only look at the workflow in theoretically, but also practically in a prepared example. And in this example, we will take a closer look at the data management of the software system BIMQ. How exactly do we manage our line definitions in BIMQ? How can we define the mapping for specific software systems, for example, to Revit, Archicad, or Allplan? And how does the IFC mapping works? And of course, how and what export options do we have? The webinar today, BIMQ for Beginners, which means we will only look at the basic functionalities today. We will look at the topics such as specific IDS checking rule configurations, import options via Excel, or accessing external content in an upcoming webinar, BIMQ for advanced users. So today we want to concentrate over the basic functionalities of BIMQ. About questions, please ask questions in the area provided for this. We will answer them at the end of the webinar, and questions that we cannot answer in time, we will answer later by email. Okay, we are starting with a short introduction of myself. My name is Florian Fliegel. I'm a BIM consultant and I have typical tasks. My typical tasks are the classic BIM management. I am also the product owner from our data management software BIMQ, and I'm supervising the field training and education. About AEC3, the company AEC3 has been providing BIM management services for over 20 years. In common, we cover three specific teams. First, the BIM management. This includes strategic development for clients, creation of line definitions or quality checks. The second field is research and development. This is about standardization, IFC certification, recommendations, or expert reports for different customers or research projects. And the third field, this is our data management software BIMQ, where we can manage our line definitions and in which the data can be further used in form of software templates for different authoring tools or for the output of checking rules. When we look at the data management, at the beginning of every BIM project, we need our exchange information requirements. And here we have to discuss several questions. For example, what information is required? Which information do we need in a specific project phase? And in what quality must the data be available? And these central questions are also defined in the standard, and this is our line standard. We will look closer now. And here you can see the concept of line. What does it mean? The concept describes the level of detail of BIM models. This includes our geometric informations, our alphanumeric informations, and of course, all the general conditions. When is the information required? This is our milestones. Who needs this information? This is our actor or our discipline. For what is the information needed? This is our use cases. And what information is needed? This is our delivery object. And how is this data currently managed in a BIM project in the practice? And here we have two different options. Option one is to try to manage and display all the information in form of Excel tables. And here we see a small example of a foundation. We see our geometric informations. We see also our alphanumeric informations. We see an IFC mapping, and we also see when the information is needed, our milestones, and for what is it needed, our use cases. But this is only a small example. The required volume of data are of course much larger here, and everyone who has ever worked with large Excel spreadsheet knows that at some point it gets too complicated. The amount of data is too confusing, and the workflow can not longer be mapped very well. If we look at the data management, how we can define and manage our alphanumeric information requirements more efficient, then we will do this with our platform BIMQ. And here it is possible to create line definitions for specific disciplines. We can use the data created here for export to different authoring tools, such as Revit or Archicad, and we can use the data to create checking rules in native formats or also in the standardized IDS format. Today, we will focus on the first part. So how can we manage and specify line definitions? And of course, we also want to look at the mapping to different authoring tools, for example, to Revit, Alplan, or Archicad. What we are not looking at today is the specific workflow in Revit or in Archicad, means how and at which point the data has to be imported. And the second one is the validation, how IFC models are checked, for example, in the Solid model checker. So that's is not the focus of today. How does the workflow work in detail? And here we see an overview where we can classify BIMQ. With BIMQ, we define and structure our data for the exchange information requirements. We define here which elements are required here for a specific discipline model. How is the assignment to property sets or base quantities? How is the mapping to IFC or to a specific authoring tool? And of course, when is the information required? This is our milestones. And for what is it required? This is our use case. And all these informations are managed here in BIMQ and should now be used further in form of software templates to import this information into a specific authoring tool such Revit or Archicad. If the data then available in the specific authoring tool, all the properties must be filled with the correct values. And before we are able to export an IFC file from our preferred authoring tool, we need the correct IFC configuration. And here we can use BIMQ again because we have already stored the correct IFC mapping there. The exported IFC file should then be checked, and here we have various checking rules available, such the Solid model checker, BIM Zoom, or DSideMD. And for this verification process, we use the BIMQ checking rules, and this checking rules check if the data that we have defined in BIMQ also match with the data in the IFC model. This whole process, what I have explained here, is a typical open BIM workflow as it takes place in the practice. Okay, let's take another look to the export. What can we expect from BIMQ? The output of line definitions can take place in form of reports, PDF or Excel, and this reports list in detail the elements that are linked to a specific discipline model, the link to property sets, base quantities, IFC mapping, or in specific mapping to a specific authoring tool, and of course, when is the information is required, our milestones, and for what is it required, our use cases. The second export option is our software template export, in which the information can be imported into a specific authoring tool, such Revit, Allplan, or Archicad. And the third option includes our checking rules for native formats, such as DSite, Solibri, or BIM Collab, or as an open and standardized data exchange format in form of IDS checking rules. Okay, I would say let's move on the practical part, the live demonstration. And now you see the user interface, the project overview of our small example here. We see on the left side the base informations about this project. So we see the name of the project description, and the current status of the required project. This project that we want to use today is our demo project. It's a small project, but well suited to show all the functionalities here in BIMQ. On the right side, we see a kind of a workflow diagram where we explain the typical workflow step. How should we execute the workflow in BIMQ from step 1 to step 9? Okay, and if you want to have more information about the specific workflow step, you can click here on the blue dot, and you get to our knowledge database where this specific step explained in detail. In common, if you are searching for a specific function here in BIMQ, you can also use the knowledge database. Further, you have access to our BIMQ YouTube channel, and on the YouTube channel are many workflow videos are stored. For example, the workflow in IDS, how IDS works with the Solibri model checker, or how can we import BIMQ data into a specific authoring tool like Revit or Archicad. If you don't find the right answer in our knowledge database or in our BIMQ YouTube channel, you can also use the email support service. It's a kind of a ticket system, and one member of AEC3 will answer your question in time. Okay, first and an important point, if you want to invite new project participants to your project, it's quite easy. You go to the tab Participants, and here you can write the email address of that person you want to invite to your project. And the second step is that the person have linked to a specific user role. And all these user roles that you see here are linked with specific user rights. For example, user and reviewer have one of the lowest user rights in BIMQ. So these user roles have only reading rights in BIMQ. He cannot edit or create new line definitions. He has only user rights. The difference between user and reviewer is that the user is also allowed to download, for example, IDS checking rules, or also download the software templates for Revit or Archicad, for example. A common user role in BIMQ is the manager. The manager have all rights that are possible in BIMQ. He can create new line concepts, new line definitions. He have also access to the download area, and he can see all functions, all menus here in BIMQ. Okay, let's go back to the overview. And now we want to look at the general settings, and here we define what software systems, what IFC schema, classification, or language do we want to use in our project. For software systems, we see some software systems are activated here in BIMQ, for example, Allplan, Archicad, or Revit. And what we also see is that the software systems are linked within reference. What is it? What does it mean? We have, for example, for Revit, we have access to the standard Revit configuration. That means we have access to all the family categories, to all built-in properties, and this is the same with Archicad or Allplan. When we are looking to IFC, it's quite similar. We see here different IFC schemas are activated. For example, IFC2X3, IFC4, and IFC 4.3. And all these IFC schemas are also have a reference to the specific schema. That means we have access to all IFC entities, to all subclasses of this IFC entities, the predefined types, the base quantities, the properties. We can use all the content of this specific IFC schema. For classification, here we have two different options, two different classification sources. The first source is the BSDD, the Building Smart Data Dictionary. And when we are looking into the BSDD, here are many classification systems are stored. For example, Uniclass or Omniclass. And when you want to classify to Uniclass, it's possible, and we can activate Uniclass for our project. The second classification source is comes directly from our database, and here we provide a classic classification system like a German cost classification system, the DIN 276. And when we want to classify to German cost classes, we can also add this classification system to our project. We have another tab here, languages, and that is more interested for international project. So when you want to maintain specific language, for example, English, German, Spanish, or Italian, then it is possible. Then you can maintain the specific language, for example, to Spanish. Yeah, but this is more interesting for international projects when you need to maintain a specific language definition. We have another possibility. It's called custom, and custom is for all mapping definitions what we can not clarify, define as a software system, IFC schema, classification on language, but it is complete user defined. You can use this mapping configuration for all definitions that you want. Common for many customers is it to define her own code system. So many companies have their own code system, and they want to export their own code system. And with the custom column, it's possible to document and export specific informations that you need. Okay, let's look to our general conditions according actors, project phases, and use cases. And we are starting with the actors, with our responsibilities. And we see here typical BIM actors like the architect, the structural engineer, or the MEP engineer. And if you want to create a new actor, it's quite easy. You can use the BIMQ user interface and add new actors, but you can also use two different functions, and these functions are healthy to import a bigger amount of data. Often customers use our Excel import-export service, and I will show you how the export works. And now when it's opened, you see the structure of this Excel table. You see it's quite similar to the structure here in BIMQ. So you see code actor and description, and here actor code and description. And when you want to add new actors via Excel, you can copy paste it or write it in this way, save the Excel and import the Excel back to BIMQ. So this function is good to import a bigger amount of data in a very short time. The second option is to use the template import, and here you have access to external content that we are providing as the company AEC3, or content you are inviting for. So you can choose what project do you will have access. In this example, we have access to the catalog templates in English. And when I look into this catalog, I see actors that are stored in this catalog here. And here you see the actors that we are maintain in our project. And when we say, okay, we want to add the BIM manager and the BIM coordinator to our project, it's quite easy. I activate it, and then I add it to my own project. What you also see is some actors here are grayed out. That means this actor in this combination is also stored in my own project. So this will be grayed out. Okay, we want to add these two actors here to my own project. We entered, and we see the BIM manager and the BIM coordinator is added to our own project. So these two options, access to external content and the Excel import-export function, we can use it in every menu, in in every function that we are looking, like the project phases. In every menu, these two options are available. Okay, project phases. These are typical project phases that we can use, or milestones. You can use this, and you can also use the import function via Excel or the template export. We are looking to use cases, and we see here also typical BIM use cases, what we can use. We can create new use cases or delete use cases that we don't need. Here's another option. It's called minimum requirements. And we can set the minimum requirements to every use case what we have defined here in BIMQ. The typical or the classical workflow is to set it to our minimum requirements. For what is it good for? When we have requirements, for example, load bearing, fire rating, or is external, then maybe this is requirements that we also need in every use cases. And when we set these requirements to our minimum requirements use case, then automatically this requirements is exported in the IDS checking rules and also exported in our software templates for Archicad or Revit. It's a helpful and easy way to make processes for the manager more efficient, and make it faster to define minimum requirements. So you don't have to set these requirements to any use case what we have defined here. Okay, let's look to our component templates. And the area component templates is our library. We define here every concept what we need in our project. the structure of the library is completely user-defined. That means you can decide how you want to structure your data here in the libraries area. Um, we see a folder called discipline models, LOG, model elements, and properties. And when I open the folder discipline models, we see the according discipline models like the architecture model, the structure model, or the MEP model. And these are marked as a model. It's clearer when we are looking to the model elements. Model elements is marked as a group, and then we have differ to the specific element areas, for example, to the architecture field, the structure field, or the MEP field. And when I opened this folder, we see the typical elements like a load-bearing wall, a non-load-bearing wall, slab, doors, windows, or roofs. And here, these elements are marked as an object. When we look to properties is marked as a group. Then we have our typical property sets, our common properties, or for example, the concrete element general properties. And when I open this property set, we see the corresponding properties, the typical common properties like fire rating, is external or load bearing, or the other common properties. And here, these properties are marked as a properties. So the structure here is completely user defined. You can define what structure do you want to create. Okay, we don't see here typical and helpful informations about this library structure. For example, we don't see the mapping to specific authoring tools like Archicad or Revit, and we also don't see the mapping to the different IFC schemas. And I want to activate them. And here over our function bar, we can activate the missing informations. For example, I want to see maybe the IFC data types, the units for the different property sets. Maybe I want to see constraints. I want to see the mapping for Allplan, Archicad, and Revit. And maybe I want to see the mapping to the IFC4 schema. And that's all for the moment. And we see the view have changed, and we see the missing informations are stored. Okay, let's make a typical mapping. Let's look to a typical element, maybe a load-bearing wall. And we see here the mapping in Allplan, we see the mapping in Archicad, and we also see the mapping in Revit, and of course in the IFC4 schema. We are starting with the Allplan mapping. And in Allplan, you can use the standard Allplan settings. And the standard Allplan settings, you have access over the platform BIM Plus. BIM Plus is the CDE of Nemetschek. So we have a connection to BIM Plus. And here all the different element categories are stored that are available in BIM Plus, corresponding to an Allplan project. So you can use the mapping to the specific BIM Plus element, but it is also possible that you can create an individual mapping. So if you don't use the Allplan platform BIM Plus, if you don't want to, you can create an individual mapping. And this individual mapping links directly to an Allplan project. Okay, how it works in Allplan? In Allplan works it with classified properties and with the linked value of this classified property. That means Allplan is filtering to classifying properties, and when the value of the classifying properties matches with the project in Allplan, then Allplan finds the correct mapping configuration. For example, what you want to use for classifying property, the name of the property is completely user defined. In my example, I will use the property, the classified property object, one moment, object type, and the value of this object type for the load bearing wall is load bearing wall. Okay, so now I have created an individual Allplan mapping. That means Allplan looking to every object that are linked with the property object type. And when Allplan finds the value load bearing wall, then all the requirements that are linked with the load bearing wall are imported into the specific Allplan project. So works it in Allplan. When we look in Archicad, it's different. We can use, of course, the standard Archicad elements that we are finding here. Maybe we can look what other walls are existing. We are finding a polygonal wall, shear wall, solid wall, or a standard wall, or a typical common wall that we can to use. But it is also possible to create new elements, and this is expectly possible for Archicad. So here it is also possible to create a complete new element definition. So for Archicad, I can say my new element called load bearing wall. That's possible for Archicad, and that's only possible for Archicad. So this load bearing wall, we can import it directly into Archicad 29. In Revit, it's not possible to create new element types. In Revit, we have to use the family categories, the standard Revit family categories, for example, walls. I think there's another wall category, but in English, the typical mapping here is walls. What we can also do, we can specify this wall, and this is the same way how we specify in Allplan. So we linked this wall category with a specific classified attribute. It's the family parameter named in Revit. So here I can use the same property like in Allplan. Object type with the value load bearing wall. Okay, these different configurations for authoring systems like Allplan, Archicad, Revit shows that every system have their own possibilities, their own functions, their own import functions, and I have to know what import functions my specific software is supporting. So that's very important for the different software systems. When we looking to the IFC schema, we have access to the complete content of the IFC schema. Here in this example for the IFC4 schema, we can choose between the different IFC classes, the IFC parent classes, for example, IFC wall, and here we have the possibility to choose between all IFC classes that are available. Okay, we know a load bearing wall should be exported as an IFC wall. What we can also use is the predefined types, that's subtypes of an IFC wall. For example, a plumping wall, a shear wall, or a solid wall. So this is possible. Here also existing user-defined predefined type. When I activate the user-defined type, I have the possibility to make an user-defined definition. For example, load bearing wall. So that is possible, this definition. What do I take here? What is the most common configuration in IFC? The most customers are prefer to don't define specific subtype. They only defined the IFC parent class. And when I look to these two elements, we get here in a problem. All elements, load-bearing walls and non-load-bearing walls, are mapped with the same IFC configuration. It mapped to IFC wall. And the checking software cannot differ what is a load-bearing wall and what is a non-load-bearing wall. So we have to specify our IFC definition. And the most common way to specify IFC definitions is to use classified attributes. And here it's important we can use all attributes that we want to, that we are creating here in BIMQ. For example, when we want to specify to a load-bearing wall, the name load-bearing wall have one attribute that are set. It is load-bearing, and that's possible. We can create this specific configuration. We say common properties load bearing should be true. And for this combination, we say common properties load bearing should be false. And now I have created a specific mapping to two different element types, load-bearing wall and non-load-bearing walls. And now the checking software can differ between this typical element types here. So this is the most common way to make and specify IFC mapping to IFC elements. Okay, let's look to the mapping of properties, and we are looking to common properties. What's very important on this side of the properties is every property have their own data type. For example, is external and load bearing. These have the data types Boolean. So is it true or is it false? This is Boolean. Otherwise, fire rating is a normal IFC label. And maybe for fire rating, I will add an enumeration list, like in this example, F30, F60, and F90. We can expand this enumeration list, so that's also possible. Okay, what's also possible is what's also important is the mapping to the different authoring tools. Here, the mapping is completely user-defined, so we can for example, for Revit, we can use the built-in properties that are Revit providing, or we can also use, for example, shared parameter types, and every shared parameter have their own GeoID that are stored here. Okay, and it's the same in Archicad or Allplan. I can use the settings of the pick list of the built-in properties, or I can create individual user-defined properties. When I look to the IFC mapping, to the IFC property mapping, we have here different possibilities, different mapping methods that are available for BIMQ. We can differ between IFC property mapping. We can define base quantities or quantities. We can define IFC attributes. We can make a definition for IFC material or in definition of IFC classification. For us, most important is the IFC property mapping, and that is what we shown here. It is possible to create a complete user-defined mapping. So this user-defined mapping is also exported in the IFC file and is also exported in the IDS checking rules. Then we have the possibility to create an IFC and dynamic IFC definitions that occurs to all common properties. For example, is external or load bearing. For example, this. And this properties knows when it's linked to a specific element what the right mapping is. So when I linked is external in this example to a wall, the right mapping is pset wall command is external. When I linked this dynamic IFC definition to a slab, then the correct mapping is IFC slab command is external. And it is also possible that we can use the fixed IFC definitions. Here we see all property sets that are available in the specific IFC schema. In our example, the IFC4 schema. And when I choose the property set, then the corresponding properties are filtered. So we see only these properties that are available for this property set here. Okay, what we don't see in our library is the specific link, the specific assignment, what elements are linked to a specific discipline model, or what properties, base quantities are linked to specific element types. And this workflow should take place in another area. In the area is assigning discipline models. And here we see our templates, our library structure on the left side. On the right side, we see our project requirements, our linking structure. When we open the architectural model, we see we have here linked elements to an architectural model. For example, the load-bearing wall, the non-load-bearing wall, slab, doors, windows, and roofs. And when I opened, for example, the load-bearing wall, we see we have here different informations that are required. For example, LOG informations. We have our common property sets that we are required for the load-bearing wall. And we have also the property set concrete element general for this load-bearing wall. For the non-load-bearing wall, we have only our common properties. We have a complete user-defined property set, wall properties, but we don't have the linking, for example, to the concrete element general property set. Okay, how does I can assign properties to specific elements or elements to a specific discipline model? This is quite easy. For this, I will remove this complete MEP model and will add it as a new model. And here we see no linking structure is available. And how can we get the linking structure? We go maybe to MEP field. Here it is possible to take the complete folder, or it's also possible to take only a few of elements. We can add the elements to the MEP model, and now the element structure is linked to the specific MEP model. And it's the same with the property sets. When I want to link this common properties, for example, to a pump, it's quite easy. I can link it to the specific element. Here it is also possible to copy this property set one by one to another element. And for the linking structure, it's also possible that you can use the Excel import-export service. It's a kind of a matrix where you checked what property is required for a specific element and for a specific discipline model. So the linking to the specific elements and to the specific discipline models is quite easy. Okay, let's look to our project requirements. And for our example, we are looking to the architectural model. And here we want to deactivate maybe Archicad and Allplan for a better view. And here you see our requirements that we are have looked yet. We see our load-bearing wall. We see our non-load-bearing wall with the corresponding assignments, a slab, a door, and a window. So what's possible here in this area? You can redefine our IFC mapping exactly for this architectural model, but the main function of this area is we have to define what requirements are available in which project phase and in which use cases. And for this, I will activate only the use case minimum requirements for the project phase 3, for the project phase 5, and maybe for the project phase 8. And now I will activate, and we are looking to a non-load bearing wall. And here we see for this load-bearing wall, we have different settings to our different combinations of project phases and use cases. We are looking to the use case minimum requirements in project phase 3, 5, and 8. And for the project phase 3, only acoustic rating is required, is external load bearing is required, and the property thermal transmittance is required. And what we see in the project phase 5 minimum requirements, or in the project phase 8 minimum requirements, the amount of data, what is required, is quite different. And over ticking the exactly the requirements, we can define what is required in which combination here. Later in the export, it is possible to create, for example, IDS files with different combinations of project phase and one use case or more use cases. That's also possible. And it's also possible to create combinations between different project phases and use cases. But it's also common and it's also possible to create, for example, IDS checking rules exactly for a specific combination, for example, for project phase 3 use case minimum requirements. All these combinations can be managed in a specific area, and this area is called assigned use cases. And here you see on the left side vertical all use cases what we have defined in BIMQ. Here you see all the project phases that we have defined in BIMQ. And when you want to set a new combination, for example, visualization in project phase 1, you can click here and add a new requirement to this combination here. Okay, let's go back to our architecture model. What here also is possible that we are checked against the IFC notation. So we check all the requirements against the IFC schema when I activate it. And then maybe we want to look, is everything right? BIMQ will show false mapping with a red red marked name, but everything is right. We can look to a false mapping. For this, I will deactivate maybe constraints for the visibility. And when we look to our MEP model, and we open the MEP model, then we say, see, okay, here, this is a false mapping for IFC light fixture, IFC pump. These common properties are not available. So this is a false mapping, what we have take. BIMQ check against the IFC schema. So the best way, of course, is to delete these properties because it's not content of the IFC4 schema. Okay, let's look to our architectural model. And now we want to look at our exports. We want to export in the first way, maybe reports. And here we have two different options. We can create PDF reports or Excel reports. In our example, we want to create an Excel and PDF export, for example, for the architecture model. We want the mapping for Revit, user interface, the IFC schema. We want the mapping for IFC4, and maybe for project phase 3 and project phase 5. Now we make an export. And this export describes in detail what is required in the architecture model. It takes a short time. And here, this is our PDF export. Here we see an overview of all use cases that are required in the project phase 3 and in the project phase 5. Description of project phases and use cases, and then a first overview of the required objects and the required properties. And in the next step, we see the specified mapping for the elements. For this example, the load-bearing wall. We see here the IFC4 mapping. The IFC4 mapping is IFC wall. We use here classifying properties. So PZ wall command load bearing have to be true. In Revit, should it map to the family category walls? And here we also use an classified attribute. It's called object type, and the value of object type should be load bearing wall. And it's the same for all properties. For example, here for the common properties, we have our property acoustic rating. The IFC mapping definition is PZ wall command acoustic rating, and the Revit mapping for that is acoustic rating. So all this information are stored for every element. Then we get an overview of all LOG definitions, and also an overview of all property definitions. And here, this is important with the right data type and the IFC data type that are provided. Okay, let's look to our second export option, and that is our software template export to transfer the information requirements, for example, for the architectural model to our specific authoring tools like Archicad, Allplan, or Revit. And here we first we have to choose our discipline model. For example, the architecture model. We select the project phase that we want to export, maybe project phase 3, and then we can use should we export only the minimum requirements or more use cases? So it's my own possibility to add new use cases. And for the software templates, we can choose between Archicad, Revit, Allplan, or BricsCAD. In our example, we can use Revit, and here are the export files that are used in Revit. So first we have our shared parameter file, then our IFC mapping file, what we need to import before we want to export an IFC file from Revit, and then we have configuration, mapping configuration for different plugins for the AER editor or for die routes, the parameter manager. And these plugins are used for the linking of properties to the different family classes in Revit. When I look to another software, it looks different. For example, to Archicad, we are choosing the Archicad version, and then we have only three different files what we can export. The first file is the element property file. That's our all the properties and the linking structure to the Archicad elements that are transported in this file. We have the property mapping file, and in this file we have the complete IFC translation, what Archicad property is transferred in IFC. And the third file is the type assignment file. And this file manage the IFC entity configurations to the different Archicad elements. But in common, if you use the standard Archicad classifications system, you only need the first and the second file here. And it's also quite different when we are looking to Allplan. Here we have the possibility to transport the information to BIM Plus or make a directly export for an Allplan project. Okay, and the third export option is our checking rule export. And here we have the possibility to use the native formats, for example, for Solibri, DSite, or BIM Collab, and also possible the IDS format. And this is the format what I prefer, because it's the format what most functionalities are supporting. So if you use checking software who's using IDS like Solibri or BIM Collab, I would prefer the IDS checking rules. Yeah, you have to choose the specified IFC schema, what you want to use, in what schema your IFC data is exported, maybe IFC4. You choosing the discipline model, and here you can create checking rules maybe for project phase 5, and can easily export an IDS checking rule configuration. Shortly, we can look at the IDS configuration. This is our configuration for the project phase 5 in our required use cases here.